it's a bit of a mystery that there's no movement on them, particularly as January is more or less the key, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that the big issue at the moment, we mentioned on the field it's going swimmingly, but off the field there are the sort of three big sirens of contracts that remained unsigned. What's your take on the, how that's going?
For me, it's a bit of a mystery. I mean, there are three key players to the side. Probably your best player in Mo.
Yeah.
Your best young talent in Trent, and your captain, and probably the best defender in the world still. And no contracts on the table that we know about. I mean, Trent has been very clear he doesn't want anything done in public.
Yeah.
He wants it all on the quiet, which is fine, and I'd love it to just turn out in the Echo tomorrow. Trent signs.
That'd be a busy day today. Save it till next week.
Yeah, but it's a bit of a mystery that there's no movement on them, particularly as January is more or less the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they're going to have a busy Christmas at this rate. So
yeah, it is. It's just a real sort of sword of Damocles hanging over the season, really, in that. Everything's going really, really well, but at some point, I mean, that's the story that's kind of ready and raring to rear its head. Really, is that when one of them has a bad performance, or we saw it when Trent was subbed off a few weeks ago. That's going to be there. There's going to be a lot of body language experts coming out of the nooks and crannies of social media when if things don't quite go Liverpool's way, and it will all centre around the contract stuff. And it's weird because it was sort of my role. I like to look at there's just the potential reasons behind stuff. I've got my own personal opinion on it, and you've got three brilliant players there. If it was my money, I'd give it to them, sign them up, why not? But I try and figure out why this hasn't been as straightforward. And I think that's fascinating because the more you delve into it, the more complex it is. They are three completely unique cases. And Trent in a world that Liverpool haven't been in a very long time, where there's a guy there who's actively wanted. There's someone there in his ear, clearly, a major football club in Real Madrid. Going, here you go, here's your future, here's Jude Bellingham, here's your mate, here's a pathway to La Liga titles and potential Champions Leagues. While he's in contract negotiations, as a right back, about to get his probably what will likely be his biggest contract, well, certainly his biggest contract yet, or possibly the biggest contract of his career. And then the other guys are in the 30s, so it's fascinating whatever they choose to do now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is these contract issues don't exist in a vacuum. You're probably going back 2 years to when Julian Ward replaces Michael Edwards, and then within 3 months, around about this time in 2022, wasn't it, that he announces that he's going to step down at the end of the season. And then in comes Jörg Schmacker, who's only really a bit of a sort of facilitator for Jurgen Klopp, and Liverpool haven't really had a figurehead in that role. Klopp basically took on the responsibilities almost by default, and that was one of the reasons why he said he'd run out of energy, because he's just had so many plugs to fill every day, and it's just been a sort of natural thing over the course of 18 months to 2 years, and this is where Liverpool find themselves now, and what has been landed at the door of Richard Hughes, fairly or unfairly.
Yeah, I mean the Trent one is the most mysterious for me, because the other two are very complicated. They're old. There's no getting away from it. You don't want to be paying 36-year-olds £350,000 a week. There's no way that the club are going to do that. They have to figure out some way to roll that money down as the years progress, and work out with achievements and to make it up. But Trent is clear. He's a very, very talented 26-year-old footballer. Just put a contract on the table and see where you go. I mean,
it's it's interesting because it tilts and it shifts every few weeks. So if we'd had this conversation at the end of August, start of September, people probably go, Salah, get Salah box. He's the ultimate priority. Now I think because of the performances in the last few weeks, I think Virgil's gone back above Salah's because I'm looking at it and saying, who else is better than Virgil van Dijk? He's still. I think it's him and Saliba are the two best centre halves in the Premier League, and And look, until Saliba has that level of longevity, for me, it's going to be Virgil. So I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. Whereas I can see with Salah, you can see he's a little bit frayed around the edges at times. I can understand the world where someone like him, you could go and totally refresh the attack with someone else if you really, really wanted to. Not saying that I necessarily would. But yeah, it goes back to Trent. It's 26, and the only thing I keep coming back to is that thing. He's a right back, and it was one thing going to 350 grand a week, reportedly for Salah, changing the wage structure because you had one of the best players on the planet. Trent is one of the best players on the planet, but he doesn't score 30 goals a season, and it's our Liverpool Football Club that can afford to pay effectively 30 goal a season wages for someone who's going to get, maybe double figures assists from a changing role. Maybe.
I mean, what you're doing is you've got three of your best players who you're going to get nothing for.
Yeah, which is madness.
Possibly come January, even offer them a contract and sell them, but get something for
them. I agree with what you're saying, though, the Richard Hughes thing. That's the biggest landmine he's sort of inherited there. That there's an impasse. He's almost got no choice but to step on something, because if he just offers the contracts without hesitation, then we can all sit here and foresee that world where someone picks up an injury, or the season becomes more intense, and all of a sudden you're not getting the output from them, and they're not taking it. We all lived through the end of Gerrard, when he went from being Liverpool's hero, 13-14, great, like, heroic season from him, and then all of a sudden he's on the bench, and he's warming up, and he's having to face, away crowds at Anfield while he's warming up and getting stuff said about him, and Henderson's taking the captain's armband more and more and more, and you're watching this sort of dying of the light from a footballer who's ultimately your biggest wage earner as well. That is a huge job for the new regime to handle.